My point is this. The earliest accounts that we have that have chains are not complete chains. The early Sahaba, the Salaf actually in general, did not care about that. It's only in the second half of the 8th century the Muslims start to have this criteria that things, in order to be Sahih, they have to go back to Muhammad. And there has to be a complete chain. How many was it? Until he had like 9,000, 6,000?
Something that was already there.
Yeah.
There was millions of hadith, many of them fabricated.
Yeah,
but this is why Bukhari and Al-Muwatta, they went specifically,
them.
they filtered them, right? The later muhaddithin. And
does that not concern you though?
No, and I'll tell you why. For me, I can go as far as say Haytham Sidki understands this and yeah.
Well, he quotes Al-Jazari.
Emmanuel Van Putten, he does mention stuff, Van Putten.
Yeah.
He mentions how 7 of the 10, according to his standards, would be, and he goes on further as well, but it's a big topic. But he says, to summarize his position of Van Putten, he says that 7 of them are mutawatir. He says there's 3 that are not mutawatir.
No.
Can you bring
That's a misconception.
10?
Well, if you go on his blog,
to the claim on Twitter,
Imam Van Putten's blog, he has an article about this where he translates Al-Jazari, who in the 15th century expanded the canon of acceptable qira'ats from 7 to 10, and he gives his criteria, and he does not include mutawatir as part of the criteria.
It's in
Twitter.
Oh, sorry?
He does not include mutawatir as one of the criteria.
Who, sorry?
Al-Jazari.
Which is in what?
In his works. I can give you the name of it if you go on his thing.
From where?
What do you mean?
From where?
From 15th century, Al-Jazari.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's enough to say. Like, what the hell, 15th century? I'm going to go to
He's the guy who expanded it from 7 to 10. He's the guy who accepted as a canon that the old one by Ibn Mujahid in the 9th, 10th century.
Mujahid, okay.
Yeah, but then later, the 15th century, Al-Jazari expands it from 7 to 10. And Al-Jazari is like, yes, not mutawatir.
No.
He said he used to hold that opinion, but then he asked for forgiveness. He repented of that opinion because he says the more correct opinion is that it's not mutawatir.
That's fine. Just 1 second.
Okay, so Qur'an is not mutawatir.
No, just 1 second. First of all, him saying that it's not a condition that it's mutawatir, if he even said that, first of all, I've not seen the reference for that, right?
Joe, he does. Check out his blog.
Yeah, I know. He says, I know he responds to the claim that because Muslims appeal to Van Putten a lot, they used to, and he responds to it. That's
a very
fine.
credible academic.
But this claim is, I'm not disputing his knowledge at all.
Good.
Do I agree with everything? No.
Yeah, that's fine.
Likewise, Haytham Sidki, do I agree with everything, even though I like him?
But he is a credible scholar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also the same for Shady Nasser.
Reference for that, except for Shady Nasser. Shady Nasser is not credible. But no.
Too shady.
But too shady. Yeah, too shady for my liking. But listen, on a serious note though, this thing would go back even to him. I'd have to see the reference. I'd have to see the evidence for that. Now, him saying that it's not a condition, right? Which we understand that when we look and study this as well, the Quran and the study in the history of the Quran, we know it's a condition, right? When we're told about this,
that's the very thing that's in question.
I know. It's fine. But what I'm saying is that it's clear. That doesn't negate the fact that it is mutawatir. Saying that it's not, for example, accept. Just an example. We can accept hadith, right? We Muslims accept hadith, for example. If the chain is like ahad, if it's one chain, we can say to accept a hadith, it's not a condition that it has to be mutawatir. Does this now mean that we have no hadith that's a mutawatir? No, if it's a non sequitur, it doesn't follow from that, right?
Fine.
But the main thing is this, right? Because this is a bit like of the point. It's a good question to ask, but I want to first deal with Mas'ud because that's fine. So Mas'ud, there's just two positions basically. One is negating it.
Before you do this, do you concede that, as far as you know, Al-Jazari does indeed say it's not mutawatir?
I've not seen evidence.
No, I'm saying that based on what I'm saying. If what I'm saying is true, and you go and you find Imam Van Putten who quotes his work, then Al-Jazari's opinion is that he did not accept mutawatir.
First of all, it's not that easy. I'll tell you why. When we take a look at studying the scholars, right, Islamic scholars, even if we take a look at like Muslim scholars, right, like Imam Bukhari, for example, he doesn't just write as his Sahih, right?
Yeah, he wrote.
Khalq Af'al al-Ibad, for example, right, the created actions of the servants, whatever, right? So this book, for example, and many other books as well by other scholars, we don't just look at a quotation from that. It's so in depth. So in depth. You look at the manuscripts of this scholar, right? What are the manuscripts, even of a scholar, right? Like Imam al-Bukhari, for example, right? Or al-Bayhaqi, or any of these scholars, right? Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, Abu Hassan al-Ashari. So if he's going for that and using a manuscript, we have to look more than that. We cannot just take his word. We have to look at the manuscript, verify it. This job is way too big. Even for me, it's too big. This is why we have scholars who specifically don't go to these scholars, these Western academia as our authority, right? Do they make points?
I see. Okay, but they're not your authority. But they are my authority.
If it's something, huh?
They will be mine when I look into Islam.
Your authority.
Yeah, of course.
And are you trying to convince me of your position?
Well, what I'm saying is that I
Yes,
would
you
go
are.
to
but-
scholarship.
Exactly,
Right?
that's the problem. You didn't answer that. Are you trying
what
to
do you
convince me
mean?
of your position?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to convince me of your position by using evidences you know I don't accept. I'm sorry, but you're not doing good so
Yeah,
far.
yeah. Well, no. My point is that you're
It's
wrong.
like me
You're
using the
wrong to
heretic. It's like
reject
me
it.
using the Quran to convince. It's like
My point is that if you reject scholarship, I don't know where to go.
okay, but
I really don't know where to go.
No, but scholarship.
We're using only
Do you
Western.
reject scholarship?
Okay, no. What do you mean?
We're using
scholarship?
we're using
Or is it just
only-
Western scholarship?
No, I
Is it
think
just Western?
scholarship is a very subjective.
But you're not
term.
using our scholarship.
You see, my point is if you were basically going to say, right, I don't like the Western
discriminating
scholarship,
against
I'm
I'll
like,
tell
well,
you
there you
one
are then.
example. When I
You
make
won't
an
even look
argument
at the
against
evidence.
you, right? I may use a scholar if I know the evidence. I wouldn't just use a scholar randomly and say this is the position, but I would use the scholar with the evidence. If the scholar's basing this opinion off, concluding it off of Eusebius, for example, I will go to Eusebius's work, like for example about the Papias, book 3, chapter 39, right, where Mark's a bearer of Peter or whatever. I will go to Eusebius's work directly. Eusebius's works, it's not really disputed. I mean, there's some people who dispute it, but that to me is like a bit critical. I don't like that approach. But generally, it's accepted. So I'll go to that text, right? So likewise, when we're talking about this, do I accept academia? If it's something which is verifiable, that I myself can go to and I can verify, and we can look at the Muslim scholars as well, historically, not a 20th century Muslim scholar or Christian scholar or whatever academic. No, we have to look at our traditions, right?
Right, but what if a scholar comments on your traditions? Can you accept his view?
Depends. Okay. Do I accept that he has the view? Yeah, but do I agree with the view? No.
No, but can you?
What do you mean?
Say, for example, Marin van Putten translates Al-Jazari and he shows you it and he says, look, Al-Jazari never said Mutawata, or at least not in his
Yeah,
later
that's a
life.
good point. That's a good
Will you
point.
accept that?
That's a really good question.
Is it
So
a scholar who
if he
don't
translates
disagree,
a work from an Arabic scholar, for example, and he
don't
says,
say what he
this
said
scholar
about,
says this, would I accept it?
Yeah.
It's multiple things. It goes back to the
Because you don't understand
I
the
have to
final
verify the
content.
manuscripts in totality. Did this scholar really, does this
Well,
work say that?
there
Or
are-
is he appealing to one manuscript? Because even when we're discussing Aqeedah, Muslim to Muslim, like we have to take a look at the manuscripts of Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, Abu Hassan al-Ashari.
Well, yeah, but okay, well, manuscripts is a weak thing to appeal to. For example, in Hadith, you don't really have manuscripts.
No.
You have
That's not
traditions.
necessarily true, I'll tell you
No,
why.
you have manuscripts of people talking about
Like,
how they knew people who had
like,
that view.
We have manuscripts.
But you don't actually have their writings.
We have manuscripts of, for example, Imam Bukhari's Sahih. We have
Yeah, but when
manuscripts.
though?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so
Imam
you wouldn't really
Bukhari-
appeal
no,
to
no,
it.
no. But manuscripts, for example, and there's someone like on rocks and stuff. I think Sean Anthony. You know about Sean Anthony? You read his work, right? About
Yeah, I quoted him earlier. Yeah,
I
Sean
know,
Anthony.
but
Yeah.
it's different from quoting and like I'm not trying to say I've read it, but I
I
want
see
to
you
know
said,
if
do
you've
I
read
know
it.
Sean Anthony? I'm like, yeah, I know Sean Anthony. Yeah.
No, but I followed up by saying specifically respect to his work about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where he took out the existence. He gives the examples, right?
Right, yeah.
And he talks about how things are written on rocks about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
You know,
coins, etc.
he actually rejects most, if not all, of the Sirah. You're
Oh,
aware
what,
of
sorry?
that. Sean W. Anthony rejects most, if not all, of the Sirah.
That's not a problem at all.
Okay, I'm just
That's fine.
making you aware,
Even
just
like,
aware.
and that's another point as well. Like when it comes to the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when it comes like the early seerah, for example, right? We say like Ibn Ishaq, for example, or Ibn Hisham, right?
Yeah.
This like we do, subhanallah, we have the same standard. I'm showing you our consistency. Our early seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Hisham, what? We verify. If they make a statement and we cannot verify it, we reject it. For example, I believe in Ibn Ishaq's or Ibn Hisham, sorry, his book on Sirah, the early Sirah, he mentions, for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam torturing a Jewish man for his gold and saying, give me your gold, and putting a steel thing on him. We reject this because they didn't give a chain for it, right? So even our own scholars, we reject
Well, no,
there's
like,
no chain.
so
He's gonna accept it.
for a lot
Yeah,
of
he's gonna accept-
wait,
this one he's gonna
this
accept.
this is where it gets problematic.
I'm joking,
It's
go
where
on.
it gets problematic because. So for me, if I want to establish the historicity of something, or at least more probable than not that something is
You're going
historic,
to go to all the evidence, right?
yeah, but I'm also going to look at the historical criteria that we have as academics. So I would point to the earliest records. The problem with Islam is that they basically purge a lot of their earliest records. So for example, Sahih Bukhari, if you look at the 6 most authentic books of hadith, they're dated much later than, for example, Ibn Ishaq, right?
I know what you're
So
saying.
the problem I have though,
Baker made this argument, right?
oh, I don't know if he
made- yeah, he
I'm
made
not
this
really,
argument.
well, this is like
It's mainly big
Gabriel
from him.
Reynolds would make this.
And
Many
Daniel
people will make
Brubaker
this.
was the beginning of the first did this argument. He made it
Patricia
very
Crowe
big.
would make this. Michael Cook
That's
would make
fine.
this.
Yeah,
Donald
so
would
this
make
argument
this.
we know about as well.
Right.
That's fine.
My point though is that if in Islam you have some of the earliest sources saying things and they're mass repeated, there's a lot of ruwiyah that goes back.
Riwayah.
That ruwiyah, I don't know how to pronounce it for ways.
We're talking
That
about
go,
Al Quran now. I don't
the-
understand what we're talking about.
wait, different narrations,
about-
different.
It's
They
going
supposedly go
into-
back, right? But they don't go back to Muhammad. They go back to some of the Tabi'un or something like that,
the
right?
narration is
Some
like-
member of the
That's
Salaf.
fine. Okay.
And they do it in mass. Like they transmit like 50 different ones of
I know
these.
you're talking about based
And-
on someone. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But my point though is that it seems reasonable to me, using the historical approach that we have in critical scholarship,
didn't go back
to simply say,
by the way, that's
well,
not
it
true,
looks,
by the way,
it looks
about hadith.
likely. Wait. It looks likely that the early Sahaba believed that.
No,
tell you why that's
but
not-
he's a good point. He said, he's a good point.
I
He
think
says,
it's a misconception.
She doesn't go back to
Imam
Muhammad.
al-Bukhari, for example. Let's go back to Muhammad.
They don't give chains to
Who
go
was
back to.
before?
They don't go back
Who
to
was
it.
before?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And you find out a week if they don't go back to the
But the reason why though is they did not think of it that way. The early Muslim companions did not think it was essential to go back to
How do
Muhammad
you
and
know
chain.
that? How do
No,
you know
Because
that?
they didn't.
How do you know that?
Because they didn't.
How do you know that?
Because there's tons of very.
So you want to appeal to the
Dr. Shahab
later
Ahmed-
evidence? So you want to appeal to the later evidence to know what the Sahaba believe, but you don't appeal
No,
to that same evidence.
even Ibn Ashaq mentions Ibn Ashaq
asking if they don't
mentions
go back to-
chains, but the chains are not complete.
We can take a look at Ahmad ibn
That's
Hanbal, for
the
example.
whole
Many
point.
shayukh say he's
The
weak.
reason why they're weak is partly because they're not complete.
No, I'll
They're
tell
also
you-
not
No,
mutawatir.
that's not
They're
true.
just singular
That's not true,
chains.
that's not true.
But there's tons of them.
That's not true.
So
I'll tell
you
why.
have to believe that Ibn
Majah-
Ashaq just like made stuff up or was massively confused about what people believe.
Spencer, he's gonna
Keep in mind, by the way, this is a separate conversation about whether
That's
this
false.
actually happened.
That's the misunderstanding.
Wait, let me just make this one point.
That's the misunderstanding.
One point, and then I'm
That's not
done.
why.
This isn't a question about whether this actually happened. This is a question about what the companions believed,
And how do you know what they believe?
because they kept writing it. They kept saying, this guy says this, says this.
Oh, but you just
This
said a
guy
minute
says
ago that
this,
we
says
have no
this.
writings of that early.
If he doesn't
No,
go back,
the earliest is Ibn Ashaq. I'm quoting Ibn Ashaq
Okay,
to
Ibn
you.
Ishaq. Okay, do you know why we weaken
Yes,
him?
that's the
Do you know
earliest.
why the scholars say he's weak? Give me
Because,
a-
for many reasons.
evidence when you
First of all, people say his character is in question. For one thing, right? There's that. Second one is that he doesn't give full chains. There's that. Third, they're not mutawatir. Most
No,
of
but
them are
that in
ahad.
of itself is not a reason. First of all, having and narrating things which are ahad in of
If your
itself
character is
not
in
a problem.
question, that is enough to make a sahih go today.
Just
Depending on the
saying
scholar.
If he doesn't go back to Muhammad, why you think
Depending
of
on the
it?
scholar.
Oh no, I think of
That's not true though. That's not true.
Of course
Why
that's
think
true.
of it when he
That's
doesn't
true.
go back?
It's very good. I'm new to this Speaker's Corners. It's very. I used to speak online. It's a bit different, yeah. Okay. So when it comes to this, simply narrating things which are ahad is not a problem. We do not weaken someone because they narrate a lot of hadith which is one singular in chain. But
No.
the problem comes when, for example, Ibn Majah 1944. You know about this, right? The goats ate the sheep. The goats ate the Quran. We know about this. This is an example to show he's weak. Why? Because he narrates things which are ahad, which contradict the mutawatir.
Right.
So simply narrating things which are ahad is not enough to say someone's weak. But if they narrate something which consistently contradicts that which is what mutawatir or more authentic, which is a principle in hadith, we reject that which is weaker. They contradict. That's why they say he's weak. It's a multiplicity of things.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely, it's a holistic case, and that's why scholars can have independent valuations about the strength of of a particular hadith. My point is, though, is that you can make an argument for the da'ifness of Ibn Asak's narrations based on the fact his character is in question, the fact that it's only had ahad. My point is this: the earliest accounts that we have chains are not complete chains. The early Sahaba, the Salaf actually in general, did not care about that. It's only in the second half of the 8th century that Muslims start to have this criteria that things, in order to be sahih, they have to go back to Muhammad. And there has to be a complete chain.
Ibn Masud Quran.
No, but he's
All three quote about Ibn Masud reject the Quran. There's none of them go back to the Prophet.
yeah.
So that's why you want to know his position. That's why you don't
My point is this: according to Dr. Shahab Ahmed, who writes about one of the early oral traditions that go back, supposedly the Salaf said about Muhammad is that he was at some point possessed. Or the Satan threw words into his mouth and recited them. And then Jibreel comes to correct him, and then it's all
We know
good.
about this, the
Yeah,
satanic
but the point is Dr. Shahab Ahmed is a Muslim, and the way he justifies it is he says, look, I don't think this actually happened. What I think happened is that Dr. Shahab Ahmed. He did his PhD on this particular topic. He even did a thing about
know
Ibn
about this.
Taymiyyah.
I know about
You can go on academia.ac.uk and read about it.
I know.
Okay, so his view is that this never actually happened. But the companions believed it did. And the reason why is because if he rejects that, he has to explain all these, and he gives 50 different narrations, 50 different narrations that say
I
it.
just wanted to add something before I have a question about that, though. And I do have to get going soon. But listen,
sorry.
so okay, let me think. You said so much. I'm trying to think of which bits.
You could just say, hey, let me go read that.
He says don't go,
Let me go read
go
that.
back.
That's
It
fine.
says if they
So
doesn't
when
go
it
back to
comes
Muhammad,
yeah.
what does that make it for you? Does it make it weak for you?
What's the early?
Narration weak?
I don't view it from the science of hadith. I don't think that's
Yeah,
a
I know
bad
exactly
science.
because
But
of
you
Joshua
bring
Little,
up, you bring, no, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you just go with his approach, right?
No, but you bring
Yeah,
up the
yeah,
argument.
we
You
bring
bring
reject.
But you bring up the argument though.
I know, but I'm going to question that.
Also, I keep saying Jonathan Little. It's Joshua Little. I remember
Joshua
that.
Little it is, yeah. He does right. He rejects the hadith, and he's done some. His work's interesting.
It seems
I
very
will say.
comprehensive. Like from what I saw,
It's
I haven't seen something that's
comprehensive, but
comprehensive.
whether it's valuable, I
Oh,
would
so that's
disagree.
where I
Let's
disagree.
a whole separate discussion. But yeah, and I'm familiar with his works. That's fine. So, no, but I have. He's making a good point. No, I want to address it because it's actually interesting.
Well, he doesn't
I wanted
believe
to go an hour ago. I
He
wanted
doesn't
to
know
go.
what is that. It's practice
No,
continent.
I'm not going to come here
Well,
next
let
week.
me answer that.
I came here
Let me
because it's
answer
my last
that.
chance to get here. It's my last chance to
I
come here for
I
like another
forgot.
month.
Be a practice code.
I'm from up North Hull, so it's very far. Oh man, I'm from Hull, so it's very far. I just came because
So
we
why
went
you
to
put
go.
why do you put all these things? I don't get it, like.
I know you've got lots of things to do.
He says he doesn't
I
want
enjoy
to
our
push
discussion.
and like.
It's very good.
Yeah, I like
It doesn't
it.
matter if you.
You've obviously done your homework. I
No,
appreciate
you
it.
say
The
honestly,
Quran is
I'm-
okay. I'm not.
So my thing is,
You don't
your
use
understanding
the
of like
Islamic,
these
so you don't use that
hadith, for
Islamic.
example.
Yeah.
You understand that we don't need to go to
All of it is in vain.
Imam Bukhari Sahih, for example. Why?
It's in vain discussion.
Imam
He puts up
Bukhari and
the-
Sahih Muslim, you're familiar with Imam Malik,
no
right?
matter what you put.
Yes.
Who's
He's a fan of the Maliki school. Yeah.
Malik, yeah. So he's predates it, right? The
Yes.
Sahih, Imam Bukhari Sahih.
Yeah.
So Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim, you know where they get a lot of the narrations from?
Yeah, from Malik.
Al-Muwatta, right?
Al-Muwatta,
Yeah. So Al-Muwatta is actually, there's many narrations. I've tried to get the book, but it's so hard to get actually. So, but I've read like from the PDF though. There's many narrations, reports where it's just one person in it. From Imam Malik, one person to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you would agree with this, this becomes
Yeah,
nearly
they have,
difficult, impossible to dispute, right? Compared to like where there's like 20 people in the chain. You would agree? It's more convincing, Yani. You would agree with that?
Does
right?
agree with
Yeah,
them?
yeah. I think that is more convincing.
Because Imam Malik, and this is the thing that I don't hear a lot of people speak, and the fact that you knew about that shocked me, actually, I'll be honest, because a lot of people don't know about that, Muslim and non-Muslim. Imam Malik actually had Al-Muwatta, right? And then you have Abu Hanifa, for example, Kitab al-Afar, right? And this is a good one as well, like a bunch of hadiths. Now they've made these collections to show narrations which support their fiqh rulings, right? You're familiar with this, right? So Al-Muwatta, for example, or Kitab al-Afar, these were written and compiled. People get very aggressive here, right?
Sometimes.
So they wrote these books to include. Yeah, no, thank God. They write these books and take narrations to support their rulings, right? So just so they know we know when they're going through Sunnah, they support their view by hadith. So you would agree that Al-Muwatta, for example, if it's the case, because it's not always the case, I'm going to be fair, but there are many instances, right, where you have just one person between Rasulullah and also Imam Malik.
Yeah.
This is the case. It's likely. It's more like a lot more likely than if there's like 10 people. Right?
Yeah, the
Not
issue
into
is though is that
methodology.
I would contrast that,
go
which
on.
I think is better, like having a short narration. I think a short chain is
If it's
better.
mutawatir, if it's mass transmitted as well, because we find a lot like Kitab al-Afar, al-Muwatta.
Okay, well then you have many chains.
No, many chains, but it's one person between it. So for example,
Okay,
Imam Malik-
okay, but it's not the same person.
No,
it's the same person, it's
then it's no
almost
longer well,
If you're going to the same guy, it's an ahad
but
chain.
it
'cause
depends
it
how
ends at
far
him.
up the chain. But if it's from the beginning, if it's one person, we don't. That's irrelevant. For
Okay,
example,
okay.
right?
So what I would say though is, to me,
Yeah.
I would say, look, if there are all these traditions that something happens and it comes from the Salaf, although they don't meet the criteria of the chain of the science of hadith, I would say that's actually arguably more reliable than the later stuff.
I'll tell you why that's not. That's a good point actually. I'm going to mention something like this as well.
Where did the stuff come from? I don't know.
Sorry.
The latest stuff, where does it came from?
So if you're talking about like Sahih Bukhari's work and
Yeah, we'll go in a
whatnot,
minute, Habib, to the point.
that's going to be later than.
No, I'm not.
No, but Imam
understand the
Bukhari
latest
Sahih, a lot of it actually comes. I didn't know this actually. Until
Yeah,
I
it
looked
comes-
into
it goes with that.
A lot of it actually comes from Al-Muwatta.
I didn't write in
know
our
this.
vacuum. Bukhari didn't write in our vacuum.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
got
sure,
it.
sure.
Yeah,
Like,
there was prior collection.
it's-
of
it's
hadith
collection,
beforehand,
it's like
right?
written.
They destroyed.
Yes.
How many was it? Until he had like 9,000, 6,000? Yeah,
It's
something.
like
What is it,
compiled something that was already
Hadith?
there.
Yeah.
There was millions of hadith, many of them fabricated.
Yeah, and
but
he-
this is why
he got rid of
Bukhari and Al-Muwatta, they went
He didn't include
specifically,
them.
they filtered them, right? The later
Yeah.
hadithin. And
Does
that's
that not
why-
concern you though?
No, and I'll tell you why.
Because it would
we have
concern
many
me.
hadith narrations which seem as unpleasing for the Muslim, right? But it's still included. So we were not just only included,
Yeah,
oh,
question
Muhammad
last
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did all
yeah.
these miracles. What about Aisha radiallahu anha? He's married to her. You guys say that's a problem, and it's seen as, I don't want to get
Well,
onto that.
I know.
but
Okay.
morally,
Some people
it's
say
not
that
moral
wasn't
argument.
embarrassing.
We don't
Like,
think
I've
it's a
heard
good
some say
argument
that.
though, right? Moral-wise. Like,
Yeah,
just saying,
well,
oh,
it depends. depends if the Muslims that say that it wasn't embarrassing at the time are right or not.
So repeat that again. Sorry.
It depends if the Muslims that say that that wasn't embarrassing at the time are correct or not.
No, yeah. But would you? Okay. I was going to ask you. Would you make a moral? Would you make an argument against Islam being false because of that? Would that be one of your arguments or not?
So I would actually take a nuanced view on this, and I would say
If
that
he came earlier, I'd speak to him as well.
the bigger problem with it is that it seems as if Muhammad acted according to revelation that he did not yet have.
I didn't hear you. Repeat what you mean by that.
So, for example, Muhammad had relations with Aisha when she was 9. It seems that that would have not been revealed at the time that he did that.
Repeat that, sorry. Last
So there's revelation in
he
the
had
Quran.
revelation. We understand it comes
Yeah. So At-Talaq, ayah 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
Allah, I was just going to ask you to. I've studied
So-
this in fiqh, by the way. We can discuss
Oh,
this.
sure.
It's not professor child. Definitely. I've
No,
studied
so.
this. No, I've studied it. I
Okay,
this is
but
something
if I just look at the commentaries, what would they say?
Yeah. So
It
we
was
have
like- it was like-
for example, we have Al-Fawzan.
Al-Jalalain.
No.
And then
Jalalain.
it's opposed to Ibn Abbas.
I've got
like-
Jalalain, As-Sa'di at home.
And they say what?
Yeah, no problem.
What do they say?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
So they understand it as well, and I'm going to tell you how the fuqaha understand. Because to us in authority, okay, what makes it permissible, right?
Okay, this doesn't sound like an answer.
No, I'm telling you an answer.
Okay.
The earliest scholars, which predate Ibn Kathir, Jalalain,
Okay.
written by the two Jalalain.
Yeah,
Exactly. There's two.
Yeah.
Written by Al-Sa'di. We have even earlier than that. Oh, God,
This is not the problem.
those who were written earlier are the scholars of
Explicit information.
Al-Hidayah, for example. Like basic books of fiqh in the Hanafi method, for example, right? Al-Hidayah, because it's like the very early madhab. Al-Hidayah, Imam Al-Qudri's Mukhtasar. They understand this referring to the girl who has reached puberty but hasn't menstruated. I'll tell you what that means. We say that you can reach puberty without menstruating. We don't say that a necessary condition for puberty is menstruation. This is the position of the fuqaha. And that's how they understand 65-4, and this is a tradition from the early scholars to the later scholars. Like
Yeah, I think that admits the point though. Because if you haven't started menstruation but you have started puberty, that's still not a sufficient time for you to have sex, right?
To what standard? Sorry.
Before you've started to have your monthly cycle,
Absolutely.
you can have sex with someone
I'm saying
before
your
they.
period can.
Your puberty can start, yeah, but puberty is in stages, yeah. Right. And one of them, which is more of a later one, is the monthly stage.
Exactly.
Right. So first, one of the stages of puberty is your hips expand, your breasts develop, pubic hair forms.
They're very late.
Right, but my point is that the menstrual.
They're prior to menstruating.
Right. But you need to be menstruating. You can't even conceive a baby if you're not menstruating.
First, just one.
If you haven't even began that
We're not talking about having a baby. Consummating does not mean you have a baby. Choose to consummate.
Right. So you agree then that you can consummate a marriage without having a baby, without the possibility of having a baby.
Repeat it, sorry. Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
That's saying that you can have sex with.
Have babies and now they're not going to get satisfaction.
No. But if you, the Quran is a general sense about those who have not yet matured to that.
For this, right? I'll tell you the evidence.
But they haven't matured to it.
I'm going to tell you the evidence. In the Quran, chapter 4, verse 6 as well, you know about this, it talks about mental maturity. Now, that's a very vague term, right?
Read Al-Qurtubi on it.
That's very fine. Al-Qurtubi, we have Ibn Kathir as well, we have Tabari.
Yeah.
So they understand this, and Jalalain is actually good for this, I'll tell you why. Ibn Kathir goes he goes in depth, right, in his tafsir. Jalalain I like, why? Because Jalalain gives examples of what it means. Because saying that a girl has to be mentally mature is very vague. We understand it's not like what's mature. Someone could say mature.
I don't understand the point. He's saying Aisha wasn't mature.
No. He's mentioned Aisha, then he says the Quran in 65-4 where it says وَلَا إِلَمْ يَحِدْنَا. Those who have not yet menstruated. He says this allows us to concentrate with a girl, a child, pubescent girl.
Yeah, who's not yet menstruated.
What does it say child? I don't know.
No, he's saying pubescent.
Well, the word Nisa is used, and that's interesting because there are other parts of the Quran that seem like the word Nisa also refers to children.
What does the say about Nisa?
Nisa for the children?
Yeah, he says, and this is an important one actually.
I'm trying to understand Arabic. He says Nisa for the children, like little girls,
So it quotes the Old Testament, and it quotes the story of when all the young.
And he says Nisa, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't say young. You're presupposing the Old Testament.
Well, yeah, but it's very weird if you don't think of it that
I'll
way.
tell you why it's not weird.
Another problem is orphans.
No, let's go one by one. Orphans.
If you read Al-Qurtubi even says, this looks very much like it's talking about children. In Surah An-Nisa, ayah 6.
I'll tell you why.
Because it talks about them maturing, right? And so then they have guardianship, and when do they receive their inheritance?
What's the criterion for account current for a woman to get married? Do you know? What's the one to come? Or what are the
Having achieved maturity.
Only one thing alone?
I want to finish.
Well, you can break that down into many things.
Is it only one thing alone mentioned?
According to the Quran.
Yeah, for a woman ready for marriage, there's only one thing alone mentioned. It's only the puberty alone.
wet dreams.
Is there any, is there
Well,
anything more to mention?
the Quran makes it the Quran terms in wait, the
Is
way
there, you
my
know,
whole
you
point
don't
is,
know. I'm saying,
wait,
according to the Quran, is there
I'm trying to
anything
frame it as holistically as I can.
No, but the question I'm asking is there anything else mentioned? I agree that puberty.
Okay, so all right, so Surah Nisa ayah 6, it talks about
talking
what it
in the
means to
entire
be
Quran.
mature,
See-
and it talks about being marriageable age.
Okay, you I'm asking the first for your answer. You talk about comprehensive understanding of the Bible when we ask the question. So this is about the whole entire Quran or comprehensive understanding. According to the Quran,
Yeah.
did the Quran only give the biological puberty for maturity and ready for marriage, or does it give other things as well? Does it give anything else?
To my knowledge, it doesn't explicitly say things like,
I'm not sure what
a child is matured into a woman when X, Y, Z
I'm
happens.
asking more detail, but does it give anything else apart from the puberty?
It doesn't give puberty. It gives menstruation. That's the whole
I mean,
point.
that's like in the menstruation, but does the Quran give anything else apart from that?
Not that I'm aware of. You can break 4-6 down
and this is
because.
the- is
Well,
what
tell me.
I'm
Can you tell me?
I can tell you. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah,
The
that's
Quran
cool.
talk about
Maybe I missed
soundness of
something. Yeah.
mind as well, mental soundness.
Yes, it
You don't
does.
me-
Well,
you
wait.
don't
No.
mention
But
that,
so yeah. Let me explain. 4-6. You're referring to
Too
4-6.
long, but I want to finish.
One brief
This is
second.
really important.
4-6. It separates mature
you know,
soundness
but why
of
do you
mind from
mention it
marriageable
then if
age.
you
No, because they're separate. And Al Qurtubi says they're separate.
No.
No,
The soundness.
we don't talk about the alpha and all
Should we
when we
read
find,
it? Let's
when
read
we
it.
find soundness in them.
Let's read it.
When we find soundness in them, it's talking about mental
And then
soundness,
and then it says
mental maturity.
let's read it.
No, listen.
But you don't
Chris,
mention
can
that
you
mental
stick with me for
maturity.
10
I agree that.
Can you stick with me for 2 minutes before I go?
Okay,
I
yes.
have to go 2 minutes. I really.
That's
I
in
don't wanna
terms of
waste
orphans
my-
being old enough.
There's many criteria before a woman
Chris,
can be married.
It does
sorry,
say
it's
marriageable
The
age.
wali permission
mental
also
maturity.
needed.
Let's read it, man.
No, but just
you have to-
the Quran itself does attribute. By the way, it's not translated in Qurtubi. Just so you know, Qurtubi is not translated in English on.
Aisha Bewley is translating it. I have the
translating
first 4 books.
She's
so
translated,
she's
but on
done-
Quran.com it's not though.
I'm not looking. No, I'm just
Also,
looking at the actual
How
verse.
many she trying to finish it all or no?
No.
I want to get some.
she's,
But they're very yeah.
well, I like them.
No.
The
that's-
Quran
There is a reason.
I want to
Once again, does the Quran say married woman by seeking permission of the guardian, folks? Did Allah say that in the
Hang on
Quran?
1 second, my friends.
Listen, but Chris, you understand
Okay.
4 verse 6.
And test the orphans and their abilities until they reach marriageable age.
Yes.
Then, if you perceive in them sound
So
judgments.
it predicates.
So it's
sound
2
judgment?
separate-
No,
Sound
but it
judgment, two
predicates.
different things.
But there have been differences of opinion about what this means. That's why I'm
And to
quoting
many
Al
apparent,
Qurtubi.
And to that of a Jalalain Ibn Kathir
Wait,
as-Sa'di, which
so
you
for
picked up as
example,
well.
Al Qurtubi says that marriageable age refers to pubic hair.
Okay. No, this is the position.
No,
I'll
that's
tell
two
you
different
why.
arguments. That
No, no,
doesn't-
no,
that
no.
But I'm quoting a scholar on what that
I want it
means.
to be
He
beneficial.
says
I'm gonna tell
soundness
you
of
why.
judgment is determined by how a woman reacts with her
I've got
husband.
this topic. Okay, listen, Chris.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. So it is a condition in the Hanbali madhab. Pubic hair is a condition.
Does woman consent need as well? Does the Quran mention that woman has to give consent?
Consent is something which
No,
is
does the Quran
established
mention
in
that
our-
she have to give consent herself? Does the
Sorry,
Quran
again,
mention that?
this
Does
is the
in the
Quran-
Quran does it mention the woman have to give consent before she can
Brother,
marry?
we respect. I want to hear this man speak.
No, but I'm saying to you have to be honest. There's over 5 things mentioned in the Quran where you pick out one thing.
I would love to hear them. If
I'm
you could
saying
prepare them in a
so-
list for me and then tell me, I would love to
I
hear
don't want
it.
to interrupt because this is held out of respect. I don't
Guys,
want to
you're
interrupt.
dangerous, man. You're butchering our concept, bro.
But listen, so it's important by Qurtubi why he holds this position actually. In the Hanbali madhab, they take the hadith as a hujjah where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, basically, we know the, okay, I don't want to, let me think how to word it because I don't want to give ammunition or go too much with it. I want to keep it simple. So there's a narration where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there was a military who he attacked, right? A military he got back, okay? Who attacked him first, he gave them warnings and then he attacked, okay? Now, those who were spared was the boys who what? Who didn't
point
have
to-
pubic
I see,
hair.
I see.
Now, because that's one evidence, the Hanbali madhab say this is a hujjah upon us, because it shows that the people who's unalived, they obtained puberty. They was responsible. Evidence was that they obtained pubic hair. Because there was a boy who said, I didn't obtain pubic hair, I was amongst those who wasn't unalive. This is one of the hujjah. But the Quran chapter 4 verse 6, it predicates marriageable age being with what? Mental maturity. I'll tell you why. Test them until they obtain mental maturity, and this is understood by Ibn Kathir, Jalalain, Al-Tabari, As-Sa'di.
I quote Al Qurtubi, and Al Qurtubi quotes others' opinions.
Qurtubi makes mistakes. For example, I'm gonna tell you a mistake.
What about
Qurtubi-
quoting other
no,
people's
no.
opinions?
You
Yeah,
put
no,
the
no, no.
individual that you
weird.
like, you don't
No,
put
no,
the
no.
majority.
You quoted Ibn Kathir.
And it's democratic.
Wait, I'm quoting it because it's fresh in my mind because I recently read
Because
it.
then when the
That's my whole
majority
point.
of scholars says opposing
I'm
it,
going
you
to
choose the
summarize it
one
with the
that...
standard because I haven't done too long.
That
Just,
means
since I posted the
you're cherry picking. Thank
we
you.
can have a
Cherry
discussion
picking.
offline. I tried emailing, I tried
Christian.
commenting on one of your YouTube
He's an
videos.
honest
to get in contact to debate with you.
I emailed
The
him.
Injil and confirmation of the Injil. You debated the brother.
Yeah, I'd love to debate that at some point if you like
But
to.
I'd love to because I don't
make that a Christian like you.
I'd like that too, yeah. So, but the point is, in Islam we have multiple different, but the Hanafi method is simple, right? It's very simple, that's why I like it.
Chirpy on these streets.
Shams. Okay, anyways. I wanted to see
2
that.
centuries ago, they married this.
A lot of people haven't seen it, I see on YouTube a lot.
Go say hello.
Yeah, I'll go talk to you inshallah soon. But listen, so we say menstruation is an example. And we say that having a baby would show
baby,
signs of
yeah.
puberty.
That
Now, a lot of people
this as well.
misunderstood this as well. I'll tell you why. People say, oh, because you can have a baby and that's a sign of puberty, it means you can have intercourse prior to puberty. That's a misunderstanding actually, and that's an understanding commonly misunderstood by those who look into Al-Mukhtasar by Al-Qudri, right? And I had the same misunderstanding, so I went to an imam and I studied it with an imam. That's why we study these books with imams. It's important.
Another thing,
Now,
all scholars will
Islam-
agree, and most of you don't know as well, to marriage, for a woman to marry, there's no reciprocating of arm. The marriage, this is general.
The Greek hand cannot be
Many Muslims don't know this.
Like, I don't know,
That's
a quarter
what
to or
I'm
something? I'm just
Many
saying,
Muslims
'cause
Discord or something. I'll give you my number if you want. I don't mind. You can contact me.
Before a woman marriage,
just email me. Is that alright?
What's your email?
Chris at
there
Speaker's
cannot be no
Corner.
That's
reciprocating
very
of
easy.
arm.
Okay, I'll definitely.
Marriage must
This
not be
video's
armed.
online.
Well, it's
You can
Chris
watch the video
at
again anyway.
Speaker's. Yeah, I put it at the end of my
You know
videos.
that must marriage can be harmful, whether
Okay,
physically,
so, but the
mentally,
point is,
spiritually.
in the same way,
Is
in
they not
Hanafi
qualified
madhab,
to
we
get
say a very, very big, very
But
bad
most-
example.
most people don't
okay?
know this
In the
condition.
very,
So many Muslims
it's
don't
not a very
know
nice
this
example, but it's a
condition.
good example given by a teacher. I've seen online. So we say that if it's the case that had means a prescribed punishment, okay? There's no prescribed punishment for someone who commits bestiality, but it's still punishable. What we mean by that, there's no explicit like this is the exact punishment. Sure. But it doesn't mean, so someone may say in a book of fiqh, for example, there's no had punishment for this. This means permissible. No, it's just stating that. Likewise, we're stating that, for example, if a girl gets pregnant, right? And
Those was
before
90,
puberty,
Amir was
this is something
12,
impermissible. But it's a sign, it's still used as a sign to show she obtained puberty, right? Whether it's permissible or not is a separate part of his book to talk about, right? So that's
Isaiah
that.
bring
So
Rebecca
yeah,
at
it's
10,
either menstruation,
Isaiah was
getting
40,
pregnant,
and
or
Rebecca
it's
was 10.
There's also a hard age, right? There's like a hard age for men.
The Quran actually mentions wet dream as one of the standard criteria.
When I
I can bring judgment the evidence.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
want,
I actually wrote a whole. I made a whole Discord server when I was studying for this. It's interesting. Actually. I like this. So 65.4. We go to. What did I just say? Sorry.
You said wet dreams.
Yeah, wet dreams. This is okay. The Quran chapter 24 verse 59. So if you go to the Quran chapter 24 verse 59. Oh, it's good. You have the app as well, yeah.
Yeah, man.
I like to have the app, but you have to download. It's good because you can download the stuff. But
So I have it on my actual phone, so I literally just tap a button, it appears.
That's good.
I'd recommend it. It's quicker to do things. So 59.
yeah, chapter 24 verse 59. It attributes balagha, so which means reaching the age, right? Balagha is.
And when the children among you reach puberty, let them ask permission, as those before have done. Thus does Allah make clear to you his verses, and Allah is all-knowing and wise.
Yeah, so if you pass to me, can I own it?
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah.
Wait.
If you take a look at verse 59. Okay, let me look at the. Oh, yeah. In the Arabic.
وإذا بلغ right there.
وإذا بلغ, what does it say? وإذا بلغ, yeah. Okay, and then if you take a look further, it's. Let's see. Give me just 1 second. God, it's so small.
What are you looking for?
Al-Hulm. So Hulm refers to dreams, wet dreams. Okay, if you look at the tafsir,
If
go
I
to
do
Ibn
this,
Kathir.
will it show me here?
Yeah. So
The
this one
translation?
says
Which one is the one?
إذا بلغ. So
one.
if reach the age, right?
And when reach the children among you,
Right
the
there.
puberty, let them ask permission.
So al-hilm, look. So al-hilm,
just says the
hilm
female.
means wet dream though. Hilm, okay.
Oh.
You can look this up. I'm not joking. What the evidence
So a
for this?
potential interpretation is wet dream.
No. Hilm literally means wet dream. But the
Oh,
reason,
okay, so
the
they're
reason
not
they
like
say
transliterating.
puberty, the reason they say puberty is because they're looking at here balagha. The Quran says that to reach balagha, you have a wet dream. So which they're concluding it by saying just
Oh,
puberty
okay.
because
Oh,
that's
that's interesting.
and Ibn Kathir actually talked about this really good. And they actually now this is a difference of a position though regarding wet dream. Is it a necessity or is it a condition? It's like not a necessary condition, but is it something which is a sign to show puberty, right? Yeah. And that's the big topic. It's really good. But Al Fawzan, they're very consistent though. 65.4, specifically 65.4. That it refers to the one who's obtained puberty but is not menstruating. Al Fawzan talks about this and Al Hidayah. Sorry, if the videos record them, Al Hidayah. If you type Al Hidayah,
No, so I'm just going to bring some up. That's cool.
Al Hidayah and if you take a look at Al-Fawzan has a book, Introduction to the Hanbali Madhab. It's really good. They say, likewise, those who have obtained puberty but lack menstruation. This goes back to Al-Qudri's Mukhtasar, where he does not say that a necessary condition is menstruation. That's one of the conditions. But you can
Not
reach-
only.
Yeah, for example, the Victorian era, girls menstruated at the age of 15 to 16, 15, 16, right? But it's not fair to say they only obtained puberty at 15, 16.
So this is
They
why
obtained before.
people
Yeah, so it's one sign, but it's not a necessary condition. So, and also Nisa, Min al-Nisa'ikum, chapter 65:4 is the beginning from your women. Now Al-Tabari, and I can get the reference. I've emailed you the reference for sure, and this is watching me,
Yeah,
so I'm
that's cool,
definitely
man.
going to provide it.
No worries.
So he says that in Nisa refer, and this is his position, by the way. There's
Yeah.
a difference of position, but he specifically says that Nisa only refers to an adult woman, and this is good actually.
Yeah, there is an opinion that
yeah.
is the case.
So,
I just find it
I know your
very
argument's against
difficult.
it. Yeah, like
It's a hard reading to accept it only means.
And a lot of the
women.
reason against this argument, like Ibn
Yeah.
Kathir, for example, does not hold this. What's the evidence for this? In chapter 4, when he talks about orphans, he uses the word Nisa.
Yeah.
He says an orphan can not be called Nisa.
Yeah.
His evidence is based off of a hadith where Aisha radiallahu anha says
Qurtubi
that.
mentions this
Yes.
as
The problem is, however, if you go to this hadith, it's weak. However, at that time, they did not know this. So this is an interesting point. This hadith, which Aisha radiallahu anha says, there is no orphan. What is the word? An orphan is not a woman. Is the summary of it. He says that an orphan cannot be called woman, right? Nisa can, refers to that. So that, therefore, if the Quran uses Nisa referring to an orphan, it refutes that.
Okay.
But the problem is that we
Is it alright
say
if
it's
we
weak.
wrap up a little bit? Because
Absolutely, yeah.
I've got like
But the conclusion of that is that hadith is weak. That's why some scholars. That's
an
why
hour and
probably
20 minutes here,
disagrees
then I've got to go back. I got other stuff I want to do.
with
Well,
that.
I'm saying, I'm saying to anybody right now, I'm just saying,
Handshake
you,
or
do
handshake?
you want to give a final speech?
Often can be open, often can be a
You want,
I
you
wanted
want,
to
oh,
talk about it.
okay.
It's really nice
Have you got,
discussion, though.
have you got what sort of something we can get with your
I have
princess?
I have YouTube. I debated Chris Claus. You know what that is?
Yes.
Chris, I'm sorry, but you should watch that one day. It's very
Yeah,
good. It
fair
was very
enough, I will
good.
do. Yeah, yeah.
It's very. He ended up leaving and insulting the Prophet. But anyways, no, it was a nice discussion with you as well. I wish we could have gone through Ibn Mas'ud and Ubay bin Ka'ab, but the view on that explained that Ubay bin Ka'ab, they say that it's the du'at, and this chain actually itself, Muhammad Mustafa al-Azami actually says that throws it out, it's weak, right? Because there's 2 generations in the chain missing. 2 people in the chain missing, so there's a 2-generation gap.
Yeah, I see. This is all like
Muhammad Mustafa al-Azami.
multifaceted though. See, I'm going to critique that as a
Exactly.
thing, and so ultimately,
ending, innit?
yeah, the way that I'm just going to end it is
a long- it's a good discussion.
589 has known variants to go back to these companions, and that is included in the school of fiqh, and I think that's good enough to conclude different Arabic Qurans.
If
just
it's
check
a
it out.
valid variant. Now, this specifically, I'm saying is part of the Qur'ans. We can look this up and we can have a discussion.
Yeah. I'll be really intrigued if it is part of the Quran. To my knowledge, it isn't, but
perhaps does the Quran confirm the New Testament? I really enjoy that. But in
oh
the
yeah,
future,
I love that as
Iceman
well.
is like, even as you keep them separate.
Oh, what's your name? What's your name, sorry?
Omar.
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 Oh, I'm Chris.
But
But thank you for the chat. I really
It's been
appreciate
really
it.
nice. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it's really good.
That's what I heard is that even as you keep them separate. Habib.
Over there, Iceman.
I had a really good conversation with Omar over here, who is a Muslim. I assume a Sunni Orthodox Muslim. And George here, who I happened to catch him having a chat with Omar. But it was interesting because he's obviously studied some stuff and he wanted to bring that up at Speaker's Corner. And I thought, brilliant, this is the kind of stuff that I relish from. I like intellectual debates. I like having the opportunity to defend the Christian faith and to proclaim the supremacy of Christ over all false ideologies and false religions. Psalm 110, right? To be under the feet of our Lord Jesus Christ. So, we talked about New Testament textual manuscript differences. We brought that up. We would look at the Gospel of Mark, the longer ending of Mark. He was saying how this means X, Y, and Z. But I think his actual attacks on that were a lot weaker than perhaps he anticipated. Because general scholarship, I think, doesn't pose this as an issue for the doctrine that is held by the church. We don't consider ourselves to hold the same position that Muslims do. That our Bible fell down from heaven and the disciples of Jesus just picked it up one day and went, oh, this is pretty cool. No, that's not what we believe. But Muslims do believe that there was an actual book that came down to them. Therefore, their understanding of preservation is different from ours. So when you understand these distinctions, the differences are not problematic for us Christians, but they're very problematic for Umar here. Then I brought the case against him. I brought the case against Islam. I talked about Ubay ibn Ka'b and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, Ayah 89. There is known Arabic differences in words where they had an additional word in Arabic meaning consecutive. which changes the Sharia, which finds its way into the fiqh, into the madhabs today, into the schools of law today in Islam, and they differ about it. That to me demonstrates how there are absolutely different Arabic Qurans. There is not one Arabic Quran, there are many Arabic Qurans. So Muslims, abandon Islam, abandon Muhammad and turn to your Lord Jesus Christ. God bless you all. I hope you have a great day.
Well done, Iceman. Welcome back, Iceman.